Sit back, relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to the Snowy S4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events. I'm all thrown off here. Involving paranormal events. Coming to you live from the S4 headquarters. Oh, God. Here in our studio in Cape Horn, Washington.
What's up, Tim?
Yo, Tim.
What? So tonight, it's January 24th, and we're talking Operation Paperclip. So yes, we do go all over the place, from paranormal to conspiracy theories, which, honestly, Paperclip's not really a conspiracy because it's actually heavily documented in CIA files. But, we brought 1,600 Nazi scientists and their families to work on projects we deemed important. Rockets, mind control, biological weapons, much, much more. Oh, it was so much fun back then. At what cost do these scientists come, and was it worth it? And we have with us tonight Barry.
Hello, everybody.
Because Barry has been studying Paperclip for years as well. I know.
It takes you down a long path, doesn't it?
Oh my God! Yeah. There's so many paths you can go down with it, just like howdy boo. And I can't wait for next week. Next week we are talking Bigfoot and the alien connection, and I'll throw that out before the end of the show. That's going to be a fun show as well. And folks, if there's a topic that we haven't hit, because I think we've hit everything at least once, almost, but honestly, if there's a topic you want to hear that we haven't talked about, by all means, send us a message through the website, s-4radio.com.
We get to hit things?
We do.
Sweet. We're doing politicians next week. All of them.
No, that's Bilderbergs. We'll talk Bilderbergs in a couple months.
We can't hit them?
We cannot hit them.
Come on.
Kind of like talking about Project... you're talking about Project Paperclip, so, that's got to come into play, too, because that could have all started with Project Paperclip.
What did? Bilderberg?
The Bilderbergs.
I know. Bilderberg came out before 1945, though.
Oh, yeah, but in 45, that was when the big push came with all this... kind of like communism and all that other stuff, and it all came about through some of the push through some of the Germans that were involved in it, because it's got Germany written all over it, kind of, doesn't it?
Right. So I want to start us off.
Before we get too deep into it, we got to wish happy birthday to 3 boys.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's say happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hunter, John, and Anthony.
Yeah, those guys.
Happy birthday to you. That's our 3 kids.
Yeah, all of our kids are January babies.
Yeah. It's an expensive freaking month.
Yeah.
All right, and they're in bed. Well, Anthony's... he's in bed. Anyway, so Major General Reinhard Gehlen. Who recognizes that name?
I do, because I heard it last night about 16,000 times.
Did you?
Yeah.
He was your homework.
He was one of the first. I think he was actually the first to be approached.
He was further. Actually, he approached us. So, 1944, he ran the intelligence for the Third Reich.
Yeah.
He was the intelligence general for Hitler. And he saw the big picture. Because he saw the Allies coming on this side, he saw Russia coming on this side. And so he got his team together, and he said, okay, I want you to take all of our intelligence files and take them to the mountains and hide them. And they did.
Switch hitter.
So,
Wow. No, his team fucked up there.
Well,
They did, because they didn't bury him in the mountains.
no. He had a plan, and he put his plan into play. But well, a week after we won the war,
2
was it 2 weeks after we won the war?
after.
Okay, 2 weeks after we won the war, he basically surrendered to himself to the army, and there was an army captain that was interrogating him, and he said, I've got a whole shit ton of Russian intelligence files. And this captain saw Major in his future. He said, wow. He went to the Pentagon, his people, and said, look, we got this Major General Nazi that's got all these intelligence. And so they pulled him in. And they gave him his own, they told him, you're going to sit here and you're going to recruit your own intelligence, your own spies to spy on the Russians for us. There was no oversight. They didn't tell him, actually I think they did. They told him, no Nazis.
Yeah.
No war criminals. He did his own thing.
That worked out so well.
Oh, yeah. And they got, oh God, what was the name of the other one?
Oh, that's how far as I got. Then came
Oslo.
off the TV.
Was it Oslo?
Well,
Do you remember
back when you're talking about him, and you're talking about in 44,
Yep.
it really wasn't called Operation Paperclip then.
No. That wasn't Paperclip, but
It's
he was the
pre-Paperclip.
precursor to us getting scientists for
Right,
Paperclip.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That was called Operation Overcast.
Overcast was still in 45, though.
It was a little bit, it was 44, 45.
Was it? Okay, okay. So, yes, it was Operation Overcast. And so, why did it change to Paperclip? Can anyone answer that one?
Because of the paper clips they used on the files.
What did the Paperclip on the files mean?
It meant, this is nothing that we want.
That meant they were rocket scientists.
Yeah.
That made they were science. Yep.
It meant, yeah.
Paperclip on this.
Yeah, they put the Paperclip on von Braun's V-Rocket team.
And that's why I said that Galen, we approached him, is because he approached us.
Paperclip.
He approached us with information regarding Nazi going-ons, and he gave us names.
Yeah.
And we took them and made them paper clips.
Yes, and Galen was the first one we approached as a scientist to come and work for the U.S.
But he didn't come to the U.S. He stayed in Germany the entire time. And what's interesting with Galen, despite and the CIA screwed up. And I despise the CIA because of one, the human abuse elements they do all the time, and still today, and the fact that you don't just go trust. You just got a guy, a war criminal, and you're going to give him an element of power and not supervise him. Really? What do you expect? And so he gave them false intelligence. The Russians really weren't very strong when they took over Czechoslovakia. He gave us intelligence and said, oh, we've got fresh troops on the Czechoslovakian border, and they're about to take over Germany, and yada. And so, oh my God, then the U.S. went, oh, we need to get our troops over, and we're about to go to war. Well, in all reality, we weren't. The Russians were weak at that point. They were tired at that point. I want to back up, though. So, the big question a lot of people always have is why did Germany have so much technology? Where did it come from? So in 1936, there was a UFO crash in the Black Forest near Freiburg, Germany. Oh, Freiburg, such a lovely little town. They have an awesome farmer's market. But anyway, Elvis Presley was actually stationed in Freiburg. Years ago. But I can't remember if it was Elvis or Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, wow.
Right?
There's a big difference between Elvis and Jeffrey Dahmer.
But they were both stationed in Germany, and when Dahmer was there were actually Germans who were missing because he was eating them.
Not surprised.
But no, I think it was Elvis that was stationed in Freiburg, and Dahmer, I'm trying to remember where he was stationed.
Donner Pass.
Probably. Oh, but anyway, so the Germans recovered this, and Barry, you tracked UFO sightings.
Yes.
Do you remember big sightings in Switzerland? Switzerland,
yes.
Because Freiburg is right on the edge of the German-Switzerland border.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to me, Freiburg, UFO crash, because there's so much that goes on in Switzerland.
Right, an awful lot.
Yep. When it comes to UFOs.
I heard they were quite on the fence about it.
They're right on the fence.
It's Switzerland.
Literally, yeah.
Oh, God.
But
What?
They don't have an army that wants them. They were too busy hanging around the Vatican.
right? So they picked up the UFO and they took it to, I can't remember the name of the castle. Does anyone remember the name of Hitler's castle? Where they call it the Castle of Doom.
I do know it, but I can't remember it.
I can't remember it either.
It's on the tip of my tongue. And
Wolfenstein?
That might be it.
I'm just guessing that's a video game.
Oh.
And you play in a castle.
Now, I've been to Hitler's other castle. There's one called Gardens. That is huge. I went there. So, when I was a private, I was supposed to go in the Love Boat from Kuwait. I was sitting on the bus to go in the Love Boat, and the colonel's driver came over and said, "Private Cooper, get off the bus. I'm taking your place because the colonel wants me to go instead of you." I'm like, oh my platoon sergeant was pissed. He was beyond pissed. Like, why aren't you in the Love Boat? Well, the colonel's driver came and replaced me. He's like, why? Oh my God. So, since I didn't get to go in the Love Boat, when we got back to Germany from Kuwait, they sent me to Hitler's castle for a whole weekend just doing nothing. It was a huge, oh my God, it was huge. It was an awesome place.
Okay, I'm sorry. So which castle? I know that Hitler had like 3 or 4 different castles.
The one I went to was called Gardens, and that was his resort, basically.
Because there was a Wellberg and Kransberg, and then Neuwitzschatten.
Look for the one
The
called
Berghof.
Huh?
The Berghof.
The Berghof.
I think that's it.
It's Adolf Hitler's home in Orbisch-Schlockberg of the Bavarian Alps near Berchtesgaden,
Yep.
Bavaria, Germany.
Yep.
Okay.
But where they did the research, that doesn't sound right. So they picked apart this UFO in the probably the basement of this castle, and back engineered it. Hey, Dennis, good to see you for Paperclip tonight. It's gonna be a fun show. And so you've got Die Glock, you've got oh God, what was the name of that structure that Die Glock was supposed to sit on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Bell structure? Are you talking the one that looked like Stonehenge, basically?
Yeah, that'd be the one.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the one. I can't remember that. The German names are so hard for me. They're easy for Eric, but they're terrible for me. It's like kind of going.
What do you got? I spent 8 years in Germany. I lived with Germans, literally. I actually lived with the German family for about a year. I was single and the barracks were boring, so I lived with my friends. To the point where I could get into German nightclubs that Americans weren't allowed in just by speaking German. So, yeah.
Muchalapka?
I'm not even sure.
Muchalapka.
But, you know, and didn't they have a super soldier program?
Yes, they had a super soldier program. They had quite a lot of different programs. But, you know, when you're talking about this UFO and everything else, and they took it over there and they started doing it, it wasn't but a year later in 1937 when they established their extensive rocket development test site. And that was in, the longest name ever. I can't remember the name. It's Herberstadt, something like that.
Can you imagine how much stuff is still in those mountains?
Oh, there's tons of it.
Because, I mean, you know damn well they didn't get it all.
Yeah.
To the point where when I was stationed in Stuttgart, there was a cleaning detail going on. This is back in 1990, 91. And there was a cleaning detail going on, and they found a sewer grate. Well, they opened the sewer grate, and there's a complete pristine tunnel underneath the base of nothing but Nazi deuce and halves, the iron tracks, all pristine military equipment, just waiting on standby. It was all reserve equipment, and that was underground.
Oh yeah.
So imagine in the mountains.
Imagine Antarctica.
So the CIA was working with Reinhard Gehlen. I had to find the right name here because I've got a whole list of names we're going to be talking about tonight. And he went to Truman and he said, "Look, can you imagine the Russians are kidnapping all these Russian scientists, or German scientists, and we're missing out. They're going to beat us to space. Never mind the Cold War." And I can't remember. We took 1,600 scientists. I think Russia took 6,000. Does that sound right?
Yes, it did.
The difference is they didn't need them. They took the.
They were already ahead of the game.
The big thing, the big difference between us and Russia, which this part kind of irritates the hell out of me, is Russia treated their scientists like war criminals, like second-class citizens. They snatched them up, they interrogated the hell out of them, they wrote down what information they needed, they sent them back to Germany. What do? We bring them here as celebrities. These are war criminals. Should be in prison or dead for some of the atrocities they committed. But we bring them here with open arms, give them a budget, give them a title, treat them as celebrities. Did we really need? Did we actually need them? Mm-hmm. I don't think we did. I think, honestly, we could have done just fine without them.
I don't know. I don't think we could have touched the V2 back when it was that time. The V2 was a heck of a thing that they put together.
Oh, the V2 rocket was insane. Mm-hmm. Like for its time, for sure.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. And we didn't have anything like that. And especially when you're looking at us wanting to go to space and everything else, we were so far behind in that. We couldn't get one off of the. Off the ground. They blew up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the question I've got is, why would the Russians be so far advanced from us on that regard? Well, they didn't need these scientists. They got the intel they needed, and they sent them back, which was a whole nother project. I can't remember the name of that project, but there's a whole nother project where we went back to Germany and snatched up all those scientists that Russia sent back, so we can interrogate them and say, what did Russia have? And these scientists are going, I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't tell us nothing.
Right. When we're talking like the Russians, they had their own version of Operation Paperclip. And I know that's what you're talking about. where they had like 6,000 people, and then they brought them and their belongings and all their family. I think it was around 10 to 15,000 total.
Because of families,
yeah.
But they didn't keep them.
No.
They sent them back to Germany after they interrogated them and treated them as war criminals. And sent them back to Germany because they got what they needed and bye. Whereas...
Operation Ozavikim or something like that. It was the Russian version of Paperclip.
Okay. Yeah, because then we ran into the same ones right back up. So Dennis, I haven't read her book, but I watched her interviews. And so some of the information tonight comes from her interviews, others come from other sources, Google and YouTube, and
all kinds of fun.
Yeah. But yes, Annie Jacobson has a book called Operation Paperclip, where she did a lot of research. And when it comes to the paperclip stuff, I think it's great. When it comes to her Area 51 stuff, some of it I don't quite agree with, but whatever. Now, Truman told the CIA, here's the deal. Yes, we can use the information, we can use the intel, but if they're affiliated with the Nazi Party, if they are affiliated with the SS, they are not to come here.
Yeah.
And the CIA said, okay. So when they interrogated all these scientists that were marked for a good fit for Paperclip, their files were whitewashed. So Hitler and all the scientists that came here were what's called gold pin. Does that sound right? They were gold pin scientists, meaning anyone that had a gold pin was someone that worked very closely with Hitler himself. They actually got a pin for being one of Hitler's elite. They weren't SS necessarily, although a couple of these guys were. I believe von Braun, for example, was SS. Even though he tried to deny it, but there were pictures of him in the SS uniform and working with SS. So, come on. We make these people heroes, and yes, they did great things, don't get me wrong, but they were far from heroes.
Right. But also, at one point, they were, the Germans were forced to do some operations, and the German people were forced to go into places that they really didn't want to be.
Oh, absolutely.
So that doesn't shock me too much. There are war criminals, and there's terrible things that came out of Project Paperclip. And we'll get deeper into that later. But and it still affects us to this day. Some of the things that happen with Project Paperclip.
Yeah.
But there was so many different different operations all tied into Paperclip, which was just crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Osenberg list. So there we go. So there were a whole bunch of scientists, yeah. The ones that made the Osenberg list were the ones that came here. And I believe the Osenberg list was straight from von Braun, or was that all of the Paperclip scientists?
I think that was all of the Paperclip scientists. I don't think, von Braun had a few of them. Yeah. That he wanted, and those would have been the ones like Bernard Testman and Arthur Rudolph. Those kind that were basically into the rocketry stuff. But a lot of them we got was not into rocketry. They were into the animal and human type things, mind control, everything else.
Oh, that was Walter. Oh God, hold on. So you got Arthur Rudolph, which we'll talk about more later. You got George York Ricky Wood, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. And you got Kurt Bloom.
Hubertus Struhold, Bernard Tessman,
Yeah.
Kurt Debus, or Debut, Friedrich Fritz Hoffman, which was a very ruthless doctor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Walter Scheiber, another ruthless doctor.
Eric.
Otto Ambrose.
Yep.
Oh, there were so many.
And
so many.
Kurt Blom.
Yep. Kurt Bloom. I just mentioned him, but there were so many different ones. Did you have Enric Traub on there?
Possibly.
Yeah, he came in that also, and we'll get into that too. Because
I'll let you talk about Traub. I don't have him on my list.
Okay, because it goes into the far end of what all went down and all happened later.
Who is the doctor in charge of MK Ultra? He was one of the paperclip doctors, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, he was, and I'm trying to think of the name of that too. I'll have to look that one up because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I think it was Scheiber, if I remember right.
Name rings the bell, but I'm not too sure for positive, Eric. So I'd be lying if I say yeah or no. So
right.
Rather not do that. But it's like going paperclip. When it all came together, all the great stuff, and I mean it ties into so many places in the U.S. because Los Alamos was one of the areas, and then it also ties into, and the other place that was involved with the bomb and everything else was Oak Ridge, and they were all tied together, and they still are in many ways. And it's really funny, they're almost at the same longitude and latitude line.
Yeah, I'm getting Hubert.
Let me go ahead and talk, and let me.
I know one of these doctors was the father of LSD, which is what tied. I think it was Walter Schreiber that was actually the father of LSD, which came into MK Ultra because the CIA used LSD all the time for their MK Ultra projects. He's also the father of sarin gas.
Let me see.
So Werner, we'll start with Werner von Braun, because he's the most well known. He was the father of the V2. Thank you, Dennis. It's Frank Olson.
Werner Magnus Maximilian Fiehara von Braun.
Yes.
Yeah. That is a mouthful. Can you imagine a mom trying to yell at him and throw out all of his names? Oh,
they would say, Werner! Come and speak. Come and see here, bitte.
Werner Maximus Magnus Fiehara von Braun. Yeah, no.
So Werner von Braun has actually been regarded as the father of American rocketry. He was the creator of the V2 rocket, which was definitely the escalation of our space program. I can't remember. He joined the SS in 1940. He was a member of the Nazi Party in 1937. After telling American interrogators that he was forced to join in order to continue his work. I don't buy that. Honestly, I don't. He claimed he joined the SS to allow him to continue his work. Now, he explained the photograph with Heinrich Himmler while wearing the SS uniform. But many of his workers said he wore the SS uniform all the time. So, they kind of threw him under the bus on that regard. He held the rank of lieutenant when he joined, and he rose to the rank of major. So when he was building the V2, he approved the use of slave labor in the assembly plants. He later claimed to have visited the Middelwerk assembly facility, but never observed the harsh conditions or mistreatment of any workers there. Bullshit. Because numerous workers claimed that he was the source of the harsh conditions, and he participated in cruel treatment of the workers, which killed, I think, I'm trying to get this right, because I don't think it was him that killed 20,000. It was somebody else, which we'll get to. He was later arrested by Himmler, who was trying to consolidate his power in deteriorating Germany, but was released under the specific order of Hitler himself. You ordered him to continue protection as long as the V2 program moved forward.
Well, I just find it. I find it weird. So in 1943, he got the War Merit Cross for the work that he did Hitler. For the SS from Hitler.
Yep.
And then in 1959, he won the Presidential Award for Distinguished Federal Civilian Services.
The highest award that a civilian could get in America.
Yes.
And so Izzy and I were talking about this last night. Do you honestly believe that Truman didn't know these guys were war criminals?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's no way he knew this.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Oh, no, he knew.
He knew. Okay, but you got to understand, at that point in the U.S., though, we were so starving for technology and new weaponry and anything that would give us an advantage in the next war to come and all of this other stuff. We were so worried about what had happened that we were willing to do some really shady shit to get what we needed.
But I hear two different. I hear two different theories. So, based on General Reinhardt's intelligence, Russia was looming right on our tail and was a big threat to us. In all reality, was Russia really a threat? I know you've heard the theory that we were actually friends with Russia the entire time, and that the Cold War is all a ploy. Have you ever heard that theory?
There's been so many random theories about that floating all over the place.
I mean that our governments were actually friends, and they had to keep the Americans in fear to keep them in control. I don't, it's hard to know what's true and what's not. It still is.
God, everything that happened from the early 40s into the honestly, into the 70s was all shady backhanded crap. I'm sorry, but it was.
No, it was.
There were so many misinformation things flying around and so many people with so many theories on how everything should work that it was ridiculous to try to dig through all that and figure out what was truth and what wasn't.
Yep.
So
yeah, and that's. I mean, it goes so deep that when you talk about the Project Paperclip, and you hear so much today in the news about the military-industrial complex and all the other terrible stuff. But that's where most of them were absorbed into, And I think the guy that was the head of, that came from Germany, and, like von Braun went into the NASA as a NASA administrator, Arthur Rudolph went in as a NASA scientist, and then the guy with the mind control guy was Sidney Gotthard, and he went into the CIA, TSA, and MK Ultra programs, and that's what he that's what he put together, and it was the what they turned into MK Ultra and the Monarch mind control,
So the big places were Fort Hood, I believe it. No, it wasn't Hood. Fort Bliss.
I want to say Fort Benning for some dang reason. Fort Benning has a lot of different.
It wasn't. Benning didn't do Paperclip. It was. There was one in Texas. I think it was Fort Bliss, Texas. Right
one in
past
Alabama.
Yeah. Hunter. It wasn't. It was a Hunter Air Force Base.
I think. Well, gosh dang it all. I got to check my notes on that.
So Benning's in Georgia.
I'm sorry, my mind is working kind of. I've got so many. Yeah, you're bringing up so many different things. It's like
I know
MK Ultra is really starting to affect my mental blitzkrieg.
But a lot of them went to Wright-Patterson. Then you've got Dugway Proving Grounds, which was Redstone Arsenal, which is where the biology lab was. Mm-hmm. But I've also heard, so Jesse Ventura did a whole conspiracy theory episode on this, too, with Plum Island. Plum Island, New York, which is where Limestone
That was one of the things I wanted to get into, and that's where that German that I mentioned to you went, because that Plum Island and all that goes back into that day. And what happens? We get a Lone Star tick from Texas that ends up in that area, and what were they known to do? They were known to develop that kind of disease and those kind of germ warfares. Mm-hmm. And that's what he basically worked on. And he was actually seen setting ticks loose outside of the facility.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, one of them was a one of them was a biospecialist. One was a vaccine specialist. So I mean, they work hand in hand.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, and that's the
these aren't the kind of doctors we want on our soil doing tests on our people. I mean, they did it.
Exactly.
They did it enough in Germany. You know.
Yeah. That was the Eric Traub that was involved with Plum Island. You know, that's the thing. It goes so far and so wide that what happens when you bring in those kind of people and they start that whole thing, and it goes even farther than that. It goes into, you know, I actually believe from looking at it that it went deeper into like Project and Operation High Jump. You know, I think they were combined. And you know, so you know, we have all the stuff going on in South America and in Argentina, and then you have Bird going down there on Operation High Jump when they start coming in and being involved in the Germans down there in Antarctica and the Hannibal and all of that stuff. And that stuff, a lot of this stuff hasn't even been declassified. I mean, what we have on
they haven't declassified Werner von Braun.
Oh God, no.
I mean,
they aren't going to. Okay.
You know, how many Americans have not heard of Operation Paperclip? And how many of them will be so pissed off and livid if they found out about it, regardless of the good things that happen?
Right. Okay. I mean, the first thing that what they always tie into it is the nuclear bomb. You know, that's the first thing. What won the war, and then NASA and the space race. Mm-hmm. Those are the two biggest things that they always tie up, and they don't go into any of the dirty, black, dark stuff that was so involved at all. I mean, it even went as deep as, you know, that was our agriculture facilities were dubbed, you know, and even in Plum Island way back in the day. They were playing with our natural food system, farm animals.
Yep. You know? Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think GMO? Where do you think GMO started? I mean, think about that.
Exactly.
If you could find a tie to Paperclip with who's the GMO people? Come on, help me.
GMO.
The company that does
Monsanto.
Yeah, I bet you can find a tie with Monsanto.
Oh man, you know,
if you ever been to Disney World, this is the weird thing because Disney was also brought into this.
He was. There's a picture.
Wow.
And
There's a picture with Werner von Braun and Walt Disney.
Right.
Oh,
Well,
but
he
that-
also worked for Disney and did things about the future of America and did films through Disney. And also, what does that mean? If you, it's no longer there now, but when you used to go to Disney World in Orlando and all those other places, what was the coolest place you could go was the Monsanto. That was, you just went in there and you had 3D cameras and almost like the life experience of being able to see all the way around your head, everything. Now, what have they done? They've taken that and put it into goggles where you're living in your own reality.
So I want to bring up this theory that Dennis is bringing up in the chat room about the theory that remains today that cattle mutilations are possibly really a long-term observation on the effects of chemical and nuclear experiments. And I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that with the exception that, okay, so if we're going on that theory, we would have to be using experimental aircraft because lights have been seen in the sky around a lot of the cattle mutilations.
Right.
So it is valid that we could have the kind of aircraft that can come over, levitate a cow, do the experiment or take the test and drop them because most of these livestock have been dropped from a high elevation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean that's a good point, Dennis, and it would make them concerned about doing tests in certain areas to make sure there's still not radiation.
Well, one of the bad things about it is, and when I look at that, I mean, look, you can go out and buy a cow at auction that's been around forever.
Right.
The United States cow, you can have anybody do that. And you don't have to go to that elaborate things because once you get the cow, no one's going to tag you and say, "What did you do with that cow?"
Right.
They could
True.
Go to a facility.
Yeah, there's better ways. There's better ways of
there's a million ways to be able to get that
without levitating them out of a harvest field.
And in fact, you could actually even. I'm sure there are farmers just like the biggest guy who owns farmland right now, Bill Gates, would probably give you a cow.
True. And most of them, if you came on and say, look, we're just doing some testing, we just need to draw some blood, they probably wouldn't let you.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Honestly. So.
Well, all you'd have to do is say that you're part of the CDC, there's an outbreak of this or that, and we need to make sure that your animals aren't affected.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so easy to get. Yeah.
So yeah. Good point. So we'll blame the aliens for that one still. I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I say aliens are doing it.
I don't
The
know.
aliens are going to come knocking on your door going,
You know, I think there's enough messed up people in the world that we blame quite a bit on an alien that,
Oh, come on. Your people did it.
It was not my people.
I'm just saying, that's the thing.
And, these mutilations have been going on forever, okay? It just wasn't when Linda Moot and Hal made a mainstream,
Right.
They were going on way before that, years and years and years and years before that.
They made it to media in the 60s.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
And in fact, at the point when we didn't have lasers,
Oh, absolutely.
So the precision and the cuts were all the same, and they have remained the same through all those years. So that's one of the reasons why I think that's kind of like could be a ET type thing, because there was things that were that have happened. It's just cattle mutilation is a cookie cutter. They all are the same.
Let's go off on the fringe for a second.
Okay.
Us?
Could
What?
so okay, we've chalked up catamulation is yes, probably alien.
You chopped up cadmium.
I said chopped up.
Oh, okay.
Not chopped up. What about crop circles? Do you think crop circles is some kind of paperclip experiment?
Oh, wow.
Or do you think it's alien too?
Again, I don't. I do not believe so.
Maybe aliens just really like corn.
Okay, aliens are 2 and 0.
With orbs, I believe that there are some that are definitely hoaxes, but I do believe that there are some that show radioactivity, the way the nodes are
cellular
burst,
structure,
those kind of things, microwave technology, or some high type of technology
you can
be able to create them.
You can tell the difference between a hoax and a real one.
Yes,
that's easy to rule out.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you've ever been on one, I mean, they're eerie. I mean,
I would love to go on one. I would love to be on one, but I can't find one here.
Yeah. Well, they're so eerie that they actually give you that weird feeling. I mean, there's like an energy there that is just
very. I don't get a weird feeling.
I get weird feelings all the time. I mean, why not?
My weird feeling went away years ago in Iraq. Somalia, actually. But, yeah.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Okay.
I'm going to say, I don't know. Okay, because honestly, I think there's been a lot more technology around than we know of a lot sooner than we thought it was here.
I think the U.S. government has a lot more technology than we give them credit for.
Yes, but I believe that this has been going on for hundreds of years, that there are certain things that we've developed in this time that are not mainstream and are not going to be mainstream for another 50, 60 years plus.
So where did that technology come from?
Okay. Well, it could come from down crash, like down aircraft, I think UFOs, different technology like
I think some races have actually come down and given technology too.
But it could also come from human.
Some of it, I agree.
Engineering, like there are certain things that. Okay, so like if you take a mirror and you take it and you bounce it off the lights of the sun, you're gonna get a beam of light off of it.
It's going to start a fire.
So somebody somewhere saw that this beam of light started a fire, and they could have started working on a very primitive, but still what you would consider the first laser or light weaponry. And I mean, I think
we were working on them. We did have a lot of different things, but we didn't have the type of technology or the way everything was just gigantic, like computers, everything else, until we came up with the smaller chips.
Right.
And no one was able to make a smaller chip until after.
And that was Bill Gates.
Right. Well, stuff wasn't small either. But I mean, you got to remember that was in the early '60s and late '60s and early '70s when Gates was doing this. But beforehand, when Kuso was around, he was bringing the stuff around and showing it to people. And it was known for night vision, all these other different types of stuff.
Right.
And so we had the technology, and we just have gone farther into it. We were looking into it, I mean, and you have to remember that every major scientist or every person that is out there, from Tesla to Einstein to everything, says one thing that everybody overlooks. I was getting information in a download.
Yes, but you gotta. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is just. We say that a lot of things come from UFOs or aliens or otherworldly beings of some kind, but we can't discount the human ingenuity factor either. And if
the reason why I discount it, Carla, and I'll tell you why I do, is because look, from the year 2,000 years, we were studied in one way. I mean, technology grew very slowly. Okay, through the top, from time one, from far to weapons to all the other stuff, everything. And then all of a sudden, in the 1900s, when UFOs are being crashed, and all of a sudden, there's one found in Germany. They're found in Russia. They're found in the United States. What happens? Everything blows up. I mean, our jump in technology in the last 70 years has been more than it had ever been in 2,000 years.
Yes.
So yeah, humans have a certain amount of ingenuity. Yes, they have a certain amount of things, and then you have to remember that consciousness may play part of that also. But at the same time, when you look at it via the hard facts, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
It came from
I will
Bigfoot.
say that the other thing that nobody thinks about when they say that, though, is the fact that we also now have a way longer life expectancy, and we also now have access to things that you wouldn't have before. Okay, and if
Do we have a longer life expectancy?
Yeah, I don't believe that for 1 second. We got dumber.
I don't believe that either.
Nope.
Okay.
Like, yeah, our healthcare got better, but we got dumber.
Yep.
We have people walk down the street and hit a manhole because they're looking at their frickin' phone.
Why do you think they have to put coffee is hot on cups?
Yeah, and
We're stupid.
don't earn your shirt
We're talking monkeys.
while you're wearing it.
Right?
That's the kind of
Oh, are you serious? I ain't never heard that one.
Those are the kind of things that kind of go hand with this. But look, and some of the dumbing down of it, and some of the stuff that's happened to us is directly involved with, and can be directly back to Project Paperclip.
Right, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that if you take the population as a whole and you say that, let's say 1 out of every 1,000 people is born with this type of intelligence, okay? So, alright, 1 out of every 1,000 people. Then 1 out of every 1,000 people 1,000 years ago is way less people with that type of intelligence than there would be now.
From where?
I'm just talking like if you do like the world population as a whole.
To be completely honest, I think the increase in technology.
The whole at one point, most of the population was in one general area.
What do you think this is?
Now it's worldwide?
But do you think this increase in technology has been a cause of the dumbing down of humans? I mean,
yes, I do.
I do.
It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan from whatever you read to the point of where you get into the CFR or anything. It is all part of that plan that was originated. When they brought themselves into power, and there was talked about in the 1919s, but they really came in power in the 1930s with all that stuff. But it's all part of the same initial thing. It's all the same part as what Hitler was doing. It's all the same deal. It's all intertwined. It's always stayed that way. It's been a program that has been done, and that's why the industrial complex is so damn scary, because they control. I mean, look, they have their own Air Force. They have their own things. They have their, plus they are working with aliens. Well, that's why we don't know about aliens.
And
we don't know of Project. We don't know of Walter Braun. We never got an answer out of him about did he ever, did they have alien bodies, and were they looking into that, and did they get some kind of relief, because that's one of the things that was talked about in Germany during that time.
Well, okay,
to help them.
I would agree with you guys that population as a whole might be dumbed down, but specific sectors are way smarter than they ever have been.
Absolutely, but as a whole, when you take on average, there is one large sector that really brings it down. And we're not going to name names.
Right. When you do look at it, you have to also look at it from the side of the thing as a certain group grew in power and strength. Did not their intelligence gain tremendously from what they do. I don't think that they eat GMO. I don't think they drink fluoride. I don't think that they, I think that they use different types of sources. I mean, we've mentioned med beds and so forth in several shows beforehand. Hey, there's a lot of different things that certain people have access to that others don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't know if we said it on the show or if we were talking about it before, but Werner von Braun actually did come out and at one point did say they got their technology from them.
Dennis, that's funny, but not very nice. But it is funny.
I can't help it. You got to read that one.
Oh, Dennis?
Dennis asks, what about the geniuses that will never get a chance to further their education and end up working at Burger King or Microsoft?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And absolutely, our chance for education is money-based here in the West.
Yeah.
And that is part of the problem. A big part.
Yes.
Well, it's all about the billionaires and the corporations in America. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. Everything is governed by the corporations and the billionaires.
Well, but it is in other countries too, but they do it better.
Well, and they share the wealth a little bit.
No.
Okay.
They know the right way to make money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The right way to make money is to invest. Invest in your future, which means your kids.
And the people.
Yeah.
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 Friend, you give all those kids a good education, you're going to make money.
Uh-huh.
Friend.
And advance the country.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, it is time for our first break already.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
77.
All right, here we go.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
You break, you're going down.
host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4. Yeah, I just got thrown under the bus here. So tonight we are talking Paperclip and the 1600 Nazi scientists that came to America to experiment on humans here and work on the rockets, and it was such great fun. Not really.
There's a few crews that probably didn't think so.
Probably. Oh, I'm sure. You know, and how many Americans even know about Paperclip?
You know what I want to know?
Not many. Not many. Huh.
Well, you know all those test rockets they launched before they actually got one up there?
Probably.
How many of them had people in them?
You mean in Germany?
No, here.
Oh, I don't know.
Exactly.
You know how many people died under Werner von Braun?
That was the Germans' revenge.
20,000
for making them work here.
So,
They shot
and I found my other notes. So yes, 20,000 slaves died under Werner von Braun.
Like German slaves, or
Probably,
we didn't have slavery like that.
Jews.
Okay. This is in Germany.
In Germany. Yep.
In Germany, not
In Germany.
since he came to the U.S.
Not here.
Oh, okay.
We didn't let him do that, people.
Nope.
We got an issue.
So, and that's the question you have to ask: was he good or evil? He didn't take care of his people. He was ruthless with his workers. They weren't prisoners of war. They were hated people. They were Jews, homosexuals, people that the Germans didn't like. That's really what it boiled down to.
Yes, but you got to understand that a lot of the Germans back then too, though, were forced into the fact that they had to do these heinous acts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not every German was horrible, and not every German wanted to be in the Nazi Party and wanted to do all this stuff.
Right.
They were told that their families were going to die in horrific ways if they didn't.
Oh, there were four.
There were just as many of them that had just as screwed up as shit happen to make them have to do these things.
Was there? I'm just saying what you would say if you got caught.
There were a specific sector of people in Germany. Yes. There were a specific sector of people in Germany that were just malicious assholes. That is true.
Oh, yeah.
But there were also the ones that were made to do these things because they were good at what they did. Mm-hmm. And because they needed them to do different projects for them, and they made them into these ruthless assholes because it was either do that or you were going to die and your family was going to die and everyone you've ever loved ever is going to die too.
But here's the question. So because of von Braun, yes, we got to the moon. Because of von Braun, we've got long-range rockets. Because of von Braun, we've got, a wonderful NASA space program. But does that outweigh the fact that he's a war criminal?
No.
Or was a war criminal?
No.
No advancement in technology should outweigh the human cost ever.
Because I don't attribute all of those things to just him.
Right.
And
Right,
even though he took part in them.
But that's what's bad about the whole thing, is that we as a government cover up all that stuff that people don't really know. They just think that, what they do know of Operation Paperclip is that during the war we grabbed some Nazi scientists and they helped us out and they were great people. Mm-hmm. And all that dark stuff was all kept from us, the side of it, And in this country we've had bad problems for a long time, And so when everything's hidden from you, you just go along your happy little day, not knowing. But that's what the problem is. When you start to see the truth and you start to look at it all, that's what is the bad part. Where you all become a conspiracy theorist in most people's minds, And they go, there's Crazy Bear, Eric, Carla, and Cole. Oh yeah, there they are. You know, they're out.
Right. But you see, here's
fun people because they wear buckles on the back. You know,
but you see the difference between a conspiracy and what we talk about. We do talk about conspiracies once in a while, but Paperclip has been released to the public. They just don't look at it. But you know, those documents are proven. Those CIA documents, they're in the National Archives.
Yes, they are. They are, but not all of them are.
No, God no. God no.
You know, and that's the problem. I mean, you're looking at, 1945,
right?
Stuff that still has not been released because they don't want people to know.
No,
you know, they don't want to know the term. I mean, heck, they released stuff that all came from the same space when we started talking about space and all the good stuff. But you know, look at what the government has done with other stuff, with taking our own community, like St. Louis, and like some of the black Negro population, and giving them syphilis and everything else that you never even hear about.
Yep.
Well, you know, the thing is that with America, we were supposed to have been, and we are still supposed to have been, founded on a value system, on this system of being free and being all of these things that our Constitution says that we are supposed to have and supposed to be. And anything that we have done scientifically or otherwise that has advanced us in any way that has horrible crap that happened to people to get us there, they don't want to include that in the American value system. You don't want to say that America was founded on this and this. You want it to look good. You want it to be good, you know?
Well, you know, it was founded goodly, you know, and you hear the talk about all this other stuff, but the government was changed at a certain point. And it became this dark entity and controlled by something different. And those are the people that don't want those things to be out and talked about, because what they did to do it. I mean, and just go back to it. When you take a president in 1959 and tells you to beware of the industrial complex.
Right.
And we didn't listen to him. And we were like going, what's the industrial complex?
That's a secret space program and everything else going on.
Yeah, and everyth's happy in my world. That's what we do as people. We just go along and go, you know, and everything's happy. I'm fine in my area. I got my house. I got this. I got that. And it's all this way, but the underbelly is doing everything to that had a plan for years to do the things that it's done, and it's all part of this thing. And Project Paperclip becomes part of it. And you know, you get to see some of the stuff farther and farther. And even the Rockefeller Institute was involved in it. I mean, I was mentioning Traub. You know, hey, guess what? Before the war, he came to the United States and was studied, and he was involved at the Rockefeller Institute. You know, and then that had been involved with Nazi activities within the United States prior to 1939.
So here's a question for you. You know, and we saw a bigger neo-Nazi activism in the last 4 years. Right? Do you think that rose up, and it's always been here, but that rose up in the last 4 years? Do you think they were here because of Paperclip? There were family members maybe because of, that were here from the scientists? Do you think that was a part of it?
I do, and I think it's all part of it, and they all went in deeper, and that's what started switching the government and all the things around from the time that all this was going on. They had a game plan in the 30s, and it went through that way. And then when they got here, it moved deeper. And the reason why you hear more about the secret Nazis and all the other stuff, and you hear about these programs and everything else, and communism or socialism.
That's the thing. You have 1,600, and you just don't leave the Nazi Party. These are people that were literally working directly for Hitler. Mm-hmm. They were heavily embedded in the Nazi Party, and now you got 1,600 families that are brought here under the guise of Paperclip. That they didn't leave the Nazi Party because they're here on American soil.
No.
So, we had a Trojan horse through Paperclip of Nazis that came here. And we saw them in West Virginia. We saw them in 2017 at the West Virginia riots.
Right.
Exactly. You saw them proud, loud and proud with their Nazi flag and Nazi uniforms come out, which was the loss of one person's life by car. So we brought our own domestic terrorists here under that guise through Adamov division.
There was other people in the country already that was trying to foster that
absolutely
program, and they just fit in like gloves. So,
to wrap up Von Braun, yes, an estimated 20,000 slaves died by starvation, maltreatment, or were murdered by his guards while building the rockets. And then we not only bring him over here for our own space program, but we give him, like Kayla said earlier in the show, the National Medal of Science in 1975. So he not only doesn't get, punished for war crimes, but he gets honored with our highest civilian medal.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put it this way though: if we hadn't gone out and picked up those scientists and brought them here, where do you think they'd be now? What do you think they'd be doing, and for what country?
Nothing. They'd be dead.
No, that's
what I'm
asking. Like,
that was the other option.
I do think
it was a good option.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have a smartphone though. But
because honestly, would Moscow have taken them all? Oh, probably. But did Moscow need them? No.
Would Moscow have gotten a chance?
It was actually proven they didn't need the scientists they took. They took the information and were like, we already got this. Go home. They did.
You know what? One of the bad problems that happened to them when they went to Russia is that a lot of them escaped to West Germany.
Right.
Because of the fact that they were treated very poorly. They were treated like prisoners of war there. They weren't treated like the others, like the United States treated them like, here you go, here's a home, join our wonderful club.
Here's 20,000 a month, or whatever the hell.
Exactly.
They're treated like celebrities here.
Well, you know what they say.
One of the interesting things about the Project Paperclip people that went to Russia, or those Nazi scientists that went to Russia, they were more into the biological side. They wanted to know more about viruses, more about all these biological things, and torturing you, because that's what that is in mind control. That was what the Germans were noted for.
Now, that's a good point Dennis brings up. What if the Russians had developed the V-rocket before the West? That's the only benefit I can see. I mean, sure, we get...
At that time, the Russians weren't interested in the V-rocket. They had a good rocket.
Right.
And they weren't looking at that. They were looking down the road for mind control, other types of stuff, hazards in warfare. Because you got to remember that stirs on the Cold War, and they were looking at those things to do it. And the whole time of that, and even when Khrushchev was here and talked and everything else, and that's thing that a lot of people don't look at back in those days. When Khrushchev was here, he was like going, we don't need to affect, blow up America because we can take over America without following your shop because we'll wait long enough until we get everyone, until we take over all the positions in government, all the places that we can, and then we just convert you softly into communism because you're already socialism.
Right.
Okay, so you're talking the long game instead of the short game.
That's it. It's all about the long game. Doesn't matter who's, you don't have to lose people. What you do is you convert people into understanding and saying it, and then you bring them into your fold, and then you support them to be able to take positions in high-ranking areas where you can then control everything.
And I also like Dennis's comment, there's no excuse for biowarfare.
Well, there is none. There is none. And I'll tell you what, the Germans were the king of it.
Oh, absolutely. And
there ain't nothing wrong with a Dutch oven every once in a while.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But, America's good.
Whatever they were putting on them, and whatever they ran them through, just think of the terrible things that they went through before they burned them. They probably had to burn them. I mean, you didn't let them walking around.
But that's the thing. The U.S. has a policy that any country that uses biowarfare on our troops, we will retaliate. But America will never use biowarfare.
No, never.
But
it will be
not openly. Have we used it before on our own people? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where's the it's straight hypocrisy.
I would like to restate that.
What's that?
The U.S. will never openly use biological warfare.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's what I just said.
Great point. Great point.
No, like really openly. Like they honestly,
they will never admit it.
Yeah, they use it all the time completely.
Uh-huh.
There is no way they don't.
Nope. I agree. I agree.
Exactly. What do you think chemtrails were? By the way, I saw the most prettiest sky the other day because I haven't seen chemtrails in a while. I don't know why.
I still truly believe AIDS was a mistake.
Show. Huh?
I still truly believe AIDS was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And it was made by the U.S.
Well, yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
It was because, and part of the stuff that, if you go back and if you can see some of the files that they were doing to humans and animals and combining the two, and Eric mentioned the super soldier program. That was what that was all about. And then what happens at MK Ultra and Plum Island? I mean, we still don't know what's going on there. That is, if you take two places in the country that you would love to know what's going on in, and you never will, would be Plum Island and Oak Ridge. You just don't have any.
Now, where is Oak Ridge?
Tennessee, just south of the Tri.
And that's another biolab. Right. That's another biolab.
Yeah, it's a biolab. It was used in nuclear everything, and there's so many secret stuff that's going on there that no one knows.
All right, I'll write that one down.
What's going on?
I've never heard of that one. So that's what I'll write down and do some research on.
Biological.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll do a show on Oak Ridge. Maybe we'll do a show on biolabs. Because that'll open up a whole nother...
I don't know what her name is.
There's so many different...
Well, Fort Detrick, Maryland is one of our most sophisticated biolabs right now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There's another place other than Plum Island. I forget what the name of it is. It's so weird. I heard of it.
Dugway Proving Grounds is actually where the anthrax was accidentally shipped. It was supposed to be dead viruses, but it wasn't. And they were alive, and it created an incident. That was just 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we know that's still active.
Yeah.
And that's actually where one of my schools was supposed to be. Instead of getting medically retired, I would have been sent to Dugway for BNOG. which is incidentally where maintenance school is as well.
Well, I think it comes down to the old saying, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something.
No.
You know, there's so many things that we, and I mean we as in a whole world of people, could come up with and could be working towards that would better everybody, but everybody's so worried about everyone else and what they're doing that we're not focused on the good portions. We're focused on the warring portions.
And I honestly do think, again, with Reichert, and the whole intelligence aspect before Paperclip happened, and his false intelligence and what the Russians were and were not doing is really what spurred Paperclip.
Yeah. Well, everybody lived in such heightened fear of things that they didn't understand that we needed to get up to the level of understanding these things that we were willing to do some horrific crap to get there.
Oh, that's what I was going to finish. So with his intelligence organization that he established, that became the new German intelligence organization that still exists today. So he basically set himself up for the future, using war criminals as his intelligence spies.
There is a young girl and I saw her video on Facebook, that her father actually used to work for the CIA.
Okay.
And he is a decommissioned spy.
Is there such a thing?
No.
Apparently there is.
No.
He is still not allowed to talk about certain things,
Right.
but he is allowed to talk about a lot.
Yeah. Well, you see, how a lot of those guys answer your question is by not answering your question.
Right.
Well, so she
totally
asked him about
disinformation.
Area 51, and he gives the main story of what it was actually meant for. But then he says, and other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
And that was a place for Project Paperclip, Operation Paperclip.
Oh, absolutely.
also.
Absolutely.
it's actually a good video where she interviews him.
Send me a link to that.
Well, I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
For him.
Send us all that link. Put that in the chat room.
Throw that one in the chat room.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, so Hubertus Struchold. That's another one. He became the father of space medicine for his contributions to the emerging field, and was instrumental in the design and development of spacesuits used in both the Gemini and Apollo space programs. He was brought to the United States during Operation Paperclip in 1947. Professing at the time to have known nothing regarding the Nazi-sponsored medical experiments on humans conducted at Dachau. Yeah, right.
Yes.
The Nuremberg trials had listed Struchold as a person implicated in medical experiments, but the American authorities accepted his denial. He didn't do anything. Nope. In 1935, Struchold had accepted the directorship of the Research Institute for Aviation Medicine, which later became absorbed into the Luftwaffe. That's the Air Force. He received the rank of colonel in the Luftwaffe, and in that capacity attended a conference held in Nuremberg in which medical studies on prisoners in Dachau, including invasive surgeries without anesthesia, were discussed in detail. So yes, we brought him here. And again, none of these 1,600 ever were prosecuted. One of them was sent to Argentina. The others were sent back to Germany. And some of them stayed here. Now, I'm going to ask this. Do you think all 1,600 were war criminals, or do you think a few of them were just scientists?
I think that they were all war criminals because what they did is they worked together and they brought the people that were with them that they knew about. So at one point, when you're dealing with the bios and all that sort of stuff, that was all going on, and same thing with the rocketry and everything else, they brought the people with them that they worked with.
So they'd be war criminals by proxy.
Exactly.
That's what I'm going to say. Is I don't believe that all of them knew everything that was going on. Nobody ever knows everything that's going on.
I honestly, for humanity's sake, would hope not.
And I mean, each of the individual pieces might not have known what the other pieces were doing,
right,
or exactly how they got the information that they got. So I would say that there were probably quite a few of them that were high enough up that they would be considered war criminals.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe that some of them, though, on the other hand, were, like you said, almost by proxy. Like accidental war criminals, because they were working on this portion of this, not knowing everything that went into figuring out that portion
I'm sure
this.
They were compartmentalized like we are.
Right, right. Like there could be somebody in a lab anywhere that's working on a vaccine or working on a cure for something, but they don't understand that all of the information that they're getting is because of human trials on this or that.
I think my other concern would be, though, they all had to be a part of the Nazi Party to actually be in the position they were in. So they came here as Nazis.
Yes, but again, as far as the Nazi Party goes, there were a lot of people that were involved in the Nazi Party that didn't want to be involved in the Nazi Party as well.
True, there was. And that's correct. But at the same time, funny that a lot of them, when they came here, did start the German American clubs, or also known as
the Nazi Party.
What they called
Socialist.
Siegfried, and so it's all socialist. They continued their theories and their thoughts, and they put them in place due to the fact of others that wanted the same agenda.
Right, but I mean that's social conditioning at its finest. If you're raised the entire time to be told that this is the way that this is supposed to work, then that's what you believe of the world.
But would they change coming here?
Well, I mean, they would change. They would change throughout years of coming here and throughout generations of coming here. But your original people that come over bring their idealism with them.
Yes, and as you bring them in, and they brought that mindset in, there was others here that wanted to use the same mindsets, and they put.
Well, there were even Americans. I can't remember his name. I have it written down in another notebook. But there was actually a U.S. Army Major Chemical Corps that actually got pulled back from Germany to the Pentagon to be reprimanded because he was actually sitting around his house with German Nazi scientists having a round table about sarin gas and how to make chemicals. I mean, so you've got Americans that were also kind of getting a little bit too chummy with their Nazi buddies.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure he's not the only one. But getting back to Hubertus, he actually became chief scientist of NASA's Aerospace Medical Division in 1962. He retired in 1968. But during his lifetime, he was the subject of 3 investigations into his possible involvement in war crimes. The first investigation, he was found not culpable. The second was dropped for lack of evidence. And the third was called off after his death in 1986. So, I mean, 1980s, they were still investigating this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have Kurt DeBus, debut. So Kurt Debut served the Third Reich as director of flight tests for the V-1 and V-2. He was a member of the Nazi Party and the SS, and before the war was a member of the SA, the paramilitary arm of the Nazi Party, which preceded the SS. So, okay, I can get on board to a point with I'm being forced into the Nazi Party, but no, if you're a member of the SA before it becomes the SS, No,
He was forced.
that just means you love killing. I'm sorry. I don't.
But then again, who doesn't? I'm just saying.
So debut was one of the German rocket specialists who surrendered to the Americans in Austria at the end of World War II. And he had everything erased from his record. So, obviously Truman's going, "Oh, you're a great you're a great German citizen, good scientist." Yep. Not a part of the Nazi Party. Okay. So when the Cape Canaveral facility was named as NASA's Launch Operations Center, Debut was named as its first director, a position he held until his retirement in 1974. And actually, so we might get to him, we might not, because, we have an hour and a half left. But there's actually one of these paperclip scientists that there is an award named after. Do you remember that one, Barry?
No.
I mean, talk about God positions. These guys were...
Oh, they were all put in the... it's kind of weird. Because,
Are you getting offended over there?
I'm not getting offended.
Are you upset that we're insulting your people? And, like we said, cow mutilations were aliens and stuff.
They're your brothers. Your brothers are mutilating cattle.
Oh, okay, whoa.
Alex,
Oh, I can honestly say, though, if it hadn't been for programs like Operation Paperclip and this and that, I probably would not actually exist. So, there's that.
what's the name of your family? Project Paperclip?
Not directly.
She's a test tube baby. I knew it.
No, I had family members that were part of the Manhattan Project, but
You had one.
Had one, yes. And my family line, I am Mexican and I'm German. And like straight from Germany, German, and like straight from Mexico, Mexican.
That's a nice cover story.
Nice.
You freaking alien.
So actually, my German side of my family would be considered what was considered High German back then. So they were, yes, which is why I'm a Fritz.
German Dr. Friedrich Fritz Hoffman.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah, about that.
Yeah, it's Frederick Fritz Hoffman.
You heard it first, government.
Yep.
Friend.
Yep.
He may be dead, but you can still punish his great-great-grandniece.
Hey, okay, come on, guys.
So Friedrich Fritz Hoffman was a scientist and chemist who worked for the Luftwaffe's Technical Research Institute from the 1930s until the end of World War II.
Yeah, buddy.
So he was based in Frankfurt and Berlin. He conducted many of his experiments in Dachau concentration camp, whose inmates were used as unwilling human subjects for his medical atrocities. As part of his research, Hoffman was conducting poisonous chemical experiments on human guinea pigs selected from concentration camp inmates. And yes, they brought him. So this is the doctor that actually developed LSD for America.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was saved from accountability after the war when he was selected for Paperclip. So he was never held accountable.
Nope.
But after the war, he turned snitch and gave evidence against the other scientists and doctors during the Dachau trials. So he testified about his involvement in the murder of 324 Czechoslovak Catholic priests.
Way to go, Kayla.
Yeah.
You know what they say, snitches get stitches.
Oh, no. They were deliberately infected with malaria
Yes.
to examine its effects. He ended up in Britain as part of Operation Matchbox, the British counterpart to the American Paperclip. Mm-hmm. You need a matchbox? The British put him to work developing synthetic poison gases for them in Porton Down. Mm-hmm. Oh, he went to Fort Detrick. Yeah, he went to work for the U.S. Army in 1947 at Fort Detrick, Maryland, and the Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland. That's another one I haven't heard of, is Edgewood Arsenal. Have you ever heard of that one, Barry?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I haven't heard of Edgewood.
Yeah.
And yes, that is the leading biological and chemical weapons research facility.
Yes, it is.
So his work included the development of sarin gas and LSD.
Damn it, Fritz.
And now we can actually find out how to make sarin gas on the internet. Ain't that wonderful?
Don't tell people that.
Oh no, it's
all
common.
the time I thought it was Timothy.
It's common knowledge.
Go on Netflix. You can figure out how to make meth.
Right?
Like,
yeah,
come
no
on.
joke. You can learn how to do anything.
So yeah, see, he was known for experimenting on unwitting American test subjects as well.
Yes.
His test subjects in America, mostly enlisted military personnel and federal prison inmates, were not told they were being given toxins. Mm-hmm. In the 1950s, Hoffman worked on developing various chemical agents for the government, such as Agent Blue, Agent White, and guess what? Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. This is unfounded evidence and unfounded, undocumented stuff. Mm-hmm. But he also supposedly was the one that did the whole water systems. No, not waterboarding. Okay. Where he put LSD and different toxins into public water supplies.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not surprised. I really ain't. So in 1952, he started working for the CIA as well. His projects for U.S. intelligence included oxygen deprivation experiments, similar to Nazi ones conducted during the war. He later joined the staff of the CIA front organization named Kimmelfeld Associates, and worked on developing the chemicals used in the CIA's attempts to assassinate Cuba's Fidel Castro. He died in 1967. Mm-hmm. Now we got Dr. Walter Schreiber. Schreiber. No, Schreiber.
Not Schreiber?
No,
Schreiber.
Schreiber,
not Schreiber.
So there's two of them.
Schreiber is coming up,
not
guys.
To be confused,
Schreibernetics.
there is Walter Schreiber, or Shriver, and then there's Dr. Walter Schreiber, who died in 1960. He was a chemist who worked in a textile manufacturing in Germany between the World Wars. When World War II began, he joined the Reich Ministry of Armaments. Now he's known, what he did experiments on concentration camp inmates. I hate using the word, not inmates, prisoners.
Prisoners.
He actually,
Victims,
yes. He actually boiled down cloves. Mm-hmm. And he fed them this water of cloves to see if they could actually survive on cloves and not food. And of course they died because they didn't get protein.
They drank Hitler's ball juice.
Yeah, they drank cloves.
Oh, God. What?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, if it was Hitler's ball juice, there would have been protein in that soup. Okay.
Oh, God.
So,
Yeah.
He was also an SS member.
What does that mean?
He became an SS brigade Führer, equivalent to an American brigadier general. Yeah, he wanted to examine the impact of food shortage on slave laborers.
All you had to do was visit one of the concentration camps.
Right?
Like, it's not like they really fed those people.
Well, they got slop.
Yeah, once a week.
Uh-huh. So he picked 150 slaves, and instead of their usual watery broth, it was an artificial paste which he had personally designed, made of used clothing.
ew.
And they all died before the experiment. 116 of the 150 died before the experiment ended. Showing ball juice doesn't really work.
Wouldn't that be considered a massive failure then?
Yeah.
All right, that didn't work.
Was it listed as a failure, though, or do we have that information?
We don't have that information.
It's
Because
probably
not all of them
inconclusive.
died.
Yeah, inconclusive at that point.
No. So 116 died before the experiment ended.
He ended the experiment then?
Yeah, but when you end an
experiment,
experiment like that, like if you have lab mice and you end an experiment like
So
that,
if you had
you kill them all at the end.
But if you had a 2-week period and they died in the first week, then the rest of them probably died a week 2. We don't have that information though.
Yeah.
It's probably still in Germany somewhere.
I would imagine it was burned.
Probably. So he also worked with the Holocaust gas chambers. He worked closely with I.G. Farben's chief chemist, Otto Ambrose. I'm sure you know that name.
Ambrose?
Uh-huh.
Ambrose, for sure.
He oversaw the chemical giant's production of deadly gases such as tabun and sarin. During the course of his work with I.G. Farben, he was linked to thousands of deaths from numerous chemical experiments on live subjects. So here we go. So Charles Lux was he's the one that became good friends with U.S. Army Brigadier General in the Chemical Corps named Charles Lux. At the time, Lux was stationed in Heidelberg, where he worked on nerve agents such as sarin gas and tabun. And because Schreiber had such great knowledge of, nerve agents, they went to his house with all his little buddies, and they had roundtable discussions. In which case, General Luck got called back to the Pentagon and condemned, ridiculed, reprimanded for getting too chummy with the evil Nazis.
The evil Nazis that were all cleared of being evil Nazis.
And brought here.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
same
cool.
ones. Same
Cool.
ones.
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. Let's see. I believe Schreiber became a CIA asset for the remainder of his life. So actually, Schreiber stayed here until he died, working for the CIA. Because here we go. So Lux was after he got reprimanded, he got sent back to Heidelberg, where he's actually the one that got Schreiber hired on.
Okay.
Yep, Lux was given covert funds to hire Schreiber to work for the U.S. Army's Chemical Corps for scientific research purposes. He did that for 10 years. And was instrumental in helping develop America's sarin gas capability. So I guess that's one of my questions. If we don't condone the use of chemicals in warfare.
Why are we creating them?
Why are we creating them, and why do we maintain a stockpile of sarin gas?
Oh, we have so much of it, and even in Kentucky here, we have two of the largest
I know.
underground facilities for them, which is the Bluegrass Army Depot that has nothing but that, and there's one outside of Lexington, Kentucky, and then one outside of Richmond, Kentucky.
And that's another problem. They've got so much of it, they can't ever use that land again.
Right. Well, what they've done is they've taken that around, and there's some weird stuff that happens at that area. And UFOs are seen all over the Richmond area and have been for years, and also west of Lexington, over closer to Winchester, Kentucky. But yeah, I mean it's crazy stuff because these are all underground facilities. And then I'm not too sure that they're not using some of the old mines around also to store stuff in, or do something more criminal than that we don't want to know about. Mm-hmm. But we had it was kind of like going, okay, this is what we used in the war. This is what we would have used, and we wouldn't tell anybody that we were going to use it, And so, of course, if they have it, we have it. It's a tit for tat type of thing. It's kind of stupid, isn't it? When you think about it. Same way with the nukes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got nukes. You got nukes. How many nukes do you got? Well, we got to have the same amount of nukes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny. I mean, it's almost stupid, but that's the mentality.
Yeah.
And you're right. You can't do anything with that stuff. What are you going to do with it? And God forbid if anything ever happens. I mean, do you want to hear about an explosion in Kentucky, or a bomb that goes off, or a nuclear blast, or anything that happens around any of those facilities? Because the loss of life is going to be terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Same
thing with Fort Detrick. Same thing with all that area.
Well, and they store that stuff usually in 55-gallon drums.
Right.
That don't last forever. They start leaking. They leak into the soil. I mean, and you're right. Same with radiation. Same with plutonium. Same with all these hazardous materials that we've got to stockpile because, oh my God, we might go to war.
You think you'd put it in smaller jugs, though. That way, if one leaks, it's not as big as a problem.
Right, yeah, well.
Just saying.
Right.
Yeah. Great idea, but didn't happen.
No, a little late now.
They were like going, hey, what are we going to do with all this stuff? I'm surprised they didn't use 1,000-gallon jugs to put it in, because that's the kind of amount of material that we have around. I mean, and there are so many areas that we are all living around that we don't even know what's there.
Uh-huh. Well, I would actually like to do a little bit of research on the areas that we have high concentrations of sarin gas storage and the amount of people with different autoimmune diseases in that area.
Well, just look at the people who we've got something that's been going on, because look at the people that have neurological problems, neuropathy, all that stuff. This has just been going on forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, we know that happens. We know that EMF could cause that. There's thousands of chemicals and things that could cause that.
Right.
So what have we all been exposed to that is causing such a high risk of this, if you don't see it in other areas? I mean, it's a great idea, but it's a scary idea, and you start looking at it, and I'm sure somebody would want to kill you before you got that information out to somebody on S4.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah,
Maybe not something I should start looking into. I really
right.
shouldn't do that kind of stuff.
Oh, why not?
I'm already probably on some list somewhere for half of the crap that I look into, so.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Right.
Looking at my list here, yeah, I've got a list too. Kurt Blome. I would have a feeling is probably one that went to Plum Island.
Most likely did.
He was known for infecting prisoners at Dachau and Buchenwald with typhus-carrying lice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In order to study how to best cause an epidemic.
Yep.
Right.
And we know they've done Lyme's disease with ticks. The similarity there just seems too uncanny that I could see Blome being one that went to Plum Island.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably wouldn't be that hard to find out.
And what year was this? Sorry.
So he was 1894 to 1969. He died. High-ranking scientist with the Nazi Party, obviously. He was the Deputy Reich Health Leader and a plenipotentiary for cancer research in the Reich Research Council. Although he wasn't studying how to cure cancer, he was studying how to cause it. His expertise was virology. So he's a virologist.
Mm-hmm.
His titles masked his actual nefarious work during World War II. He was part of the SS and the Wehrmacht. Conducted deadly experiments on prisoners at Auschwitz and elsewhere. So he was about to be prosecuted, but again, America stepped in and rescued him.
Mm-hmm.
So he never got, charged for anything. His title was plenipotentiary for cancer research. Was deceptive. He was not interested in curing cancer, but causing cancer via viruses.
Mm-hmm.
And the military use of carcinogenic substances. He also headed an institute that sought to develop biological warfare agents. His institute advocated attacking the United States with human and animal epidemic pathogens, as well as plant pests. He conducted lethal experiments on 1,700 victims at Mauthausen concentration camp. And they also collaborated with Japan's infamous Unit 731. Which, have you ever heard of Unit 731?
Yes.
In Japan? Yeah, that's a whole other show.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we would.
We're not gonna go down that discussion tonight. That's a whole other ball of wax of human catastrophe.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
But these are the kinds of people that we brought over here. He tested nerve gas such as sarin and tabin on Auschwitz victims. After the war, he was captured by U.S. Army intelligence. And during interrogation, admitted to numerous medical atrocities. So, it's not like we didn't know. We just kept it from Truman. Or did we?
Yeah, and it's so strange, and maybe in the last hour we can talk about where some of this stuff has led to, and because it dribbles all throughout our history.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things about Operation Paperclip, and that was basically the whole thing. The Nazis didn't lose. They just moved to America.
Yep.
you know, and here we are today. I mean, from all the stuff that has happened and to everything that is going on, and to this day, you're going to see that through everything.
Well, here's what kills me too. He was interviewed by representatives from Camp Detrick, Maryland. Mm-hmm. Of course. Yep. The Center of America's Biological Warfare Program. He's then hired by the U.S. Army Chemical Corps to work on top secret chemical and biological warfare projects that remain classified to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I understand classifications for national security. Absolutely. Classifications because, oh my God, we might piss off the Americans because we experimented on them is bullshit.
Yeah. Now, we experimented on so many people, and it's awful, you know. We still deal with that today, and throughout the whole world. It's not just here in this country, but it continued to go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's awful.
So since 1960, getting back to Strughold for a second. I think we talked about Strughold earlier, right?
Yeah.
Strughold is the one. So since 1963, the Space Medicine Association has given out an annual Hubertus Strughold Award.
The what association?
The Space Medicine Association.
Space medicine.
Yeah.
The fuck's wrong with Earth medicine?
I don't know.
What the hell is space medicine?
That's so if you get bit by a reptilian, they know which bandage to put on you.
Jesus. Like, seriously though, what is that?
So they're the ones that do the space suits, and
that's not medicine.
So space medicine, I can compare to aviation medicine. It's the same shit. Same. As a combat medic, for example, right? If I was to be a medic on a helicopter, a flight medic, you have a different set of medical you have to work with. Because of the gravity, because of the air pressure, your IVs have to be set a certain way. Your oxygen levels have to be set a certain way if you're putting oxygen on a patient. There's a different science to it.
Not to mention the fact that in the vacuum of space and in anti-gravity, viruses grow differently and will do some weird-ass mutations.
True.
Oh, I've seen aliens.
Oh, and with that, we have to go to our last break of the night. And when we come back, we'll carry on. Where has Paperclip taken us to today?
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
with your host, Eric.
And welcome back to S4, and it's our last hour. So we're gonna bring in the last hour talking about where we are today. What has Paperclip brought us to today? We know MK Ultra was in the 60s. We know German scientists were leading MK Ultra in the 60s.
I think we need to settle
50s.
an argument.
What's that?
Kayla seems to believe that we got microwave technology from German scientists.
No, they got it from aliens.
Ay-Dios. Okay.
Change my mind. Come on.
Change your mind about microwave technology?
Yeah.
You know, something that's been around since forever?
Really?
Research
So
all this.
cavemen were sitting there. I'm going to microwave burrito.
If you ever played Red Alert, Command and Conquer Red Alert, you're actually, if you play the U.S. side, the Allied side, you're actually defending a spaceship crash site from the Nazis coming in to get it. Technically, the Russians coming in to get it.
Oh, wow.
But it's kind of cool because it really does play into reality. But I never knew that. I really didn't. Back then when I played it,
Yeah.
I didn't study paperclip and all that. And that was only back in the 90s. I was getting more information on FEMA concentration camps and the UN's. Oh my God, the UN's driving through Alabama. No, they're not. You know, shit like that. I had heard of paperclip, but I hadn't really researched it or.
I heard of a paperclip.
Oh yeah,
I was 10.
we use them every day. Not quite, but
We used a lot of them.
Red Rover Tax Services use them all the time.
You know it.
Oh, yeah. They probably have the largest supply in Washington.
Probably.
Probably close to.
They buy out Office Depot all the time. Oh, anyway, so where do you think MK Ultra is today?
In every
back-
product that you use.
Back then, do you think MK Ultra is the reason Google listens to you?
Oh, I think that Google's the reason Google listens to you. Okay, I'm sorry, but what? Okay, if you think about it, like all of the... okay, so it started out with bringing over German scientists, bringing over scientists from other countries, and this was long before World War II. This was way before that. Okay, we started out with like the Einsteins of the world and different things like that, where we were bringing the best and brightest of different countries.
It's funny you bring up Einstein, because you know Einstein moved to America and got his U.S. citizenship before paperclip.
Oh, of course, like years before paperclip.
No, not really. Not years. Just before paperclip. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that?
1876. Einstein, Rosenberg.
Did you just say 1876?
I said in 1890 something. He was born in 1890 something.
Hold on. I wrote that down somewhere because I thought that was fascinating.
No, but anyways, like I was saying, like we've had different countries working on different things since we've had the founding of different countries. I mean, we pull over the best and brightest. We try to get
1940.
1940 is when he became a U.S. citizen?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but how long had he lived here before the citizenship, and how long had he had ties in
So,
ties
no, okay,
for
so
you?
yeah, correction.
saying.
Einstein left just prior to Hitler taking power. And got his U.S. citizenship.
Yeah. Where was I? Train of thought. Oh, okay. So we started out with people like Einstein and all these other people, and we brought them over here, and we advanced our technology through them. In the beginning of our country, everything else, we advanced our technology through scientists from other countries. Then Project Paperclip happened. We did that. We did some MK Ultra. We went from there back to the original. So what we're doing now is we are pulling people, the best and brightest from different countries and from different things, but we're saying under the guidelines of private enterprise. Okay? So I think now what we are doing is all of these have become private organizations or private enterprise or LLCs and different companies.
Yeah, because we don't have to track them.
Because they don't have to release their information because it's proprietary.
Yeah.
So what we did, instead of making it another government organization, is we put it under private industry and private sector, and pull, again, the best and brightest from everywhere to work on those systems and to
they
advance
still
us.
experiment on our people today. Why you see these you see these lawsuits against pharma companies, for example, all the time because they don't do their proper research. You still with us, Barry?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay,
I'm just listening because
I think I know where Kayla's confusion about Einstein was. He gave up his German citizenship in 1895 and moved to Switzerland.
Okay. Yeah, and Dennis said Einstein was granted permanent residency in the U.S. in 1935, became an American citizen in 1940.
Yeah, because 1933 he was visiting the U.S., and that's when Hitler took power, and because of his Jewish ancestry, he said, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm just going to chill here, guys. Yeah. No, but I think that's where it's gone now, is private industry. Because private industry and the private sector doesn't have to release their proprietary information the way that government agencies do.
To hold accountable.
Exactly. And I mean, they can be working with different government agencies. Like, who is it? Elon Musk and all of them. They work with NASA. SpaceX works with NASA's. So does Bigelow Industries did. So does, who's that other guy?
Jeff Bezos.
All of these people.
Bezos.
And so when you make it a private industry, you don't have to follow the same guidelines. You don't have to follow the same rules. And if for any reason any of the information does leak out that they've been doing this, or this to American citizens, well, then they can say that we had no idea. So let's just cut ties with this industry and tell them that they're no longer allowed to operate.
Liability.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, it's all crazy. I mean, when you start to put together some of the stuff that we've seen, and I still can't get over the thing with Plum Island and how that came about. And
no, and the thing with Plum Island, it can never be utilized.
No.
No, well,
Ever.
the weird thing about it is that this Henrik Traub, Dr. Henry Traub was such a weird character, and it smells of bad things before it even started. Because here's a guy who is in the Nazi program. He is one of the scientists that's taken to Russia and is forced to do virus work for the Russians. Mm-hmm. Escapes Russia to West Germany, and sometime in 48, 49, and then asks to come for Project Paperclip, and gets brought back in here. But the real weird story about it is, and this is when you start to really think about connections with the Third Reich, some of the things with the CIA, everything else, because Traub was living in the United States before he was in the Nazi Party. He went to school at the Rockefeller Institute.
Yep, that's right.
U.S. prior to 1939, and the outbreak of World War II. He lived on Long Island and around New Jersey and all that other areas. But it's really funny that the day before, he learned all of his knowledge from the Americans, right?
about what he was working on. And then he goes to the day that the war breaks out, he leaves and goes back to Nazi Germany. And it becomes a Nazi. And you don't think about that thinking like CIA type deal or whatever. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? It's kind of strange. It's a troubling record, about it. And then when he comes back, he does some stint with the USDA, Department of Agriculture, and then he is basically known as an authority of viruses and diseases in Germany and Europe, and then gets basically assigned to the Third Reich. He was a biological warfare dude. So
it leads to the question: if he already had the information when he was here, do you really think we needed the Nazi information?
No, I didn't think so. I mean, that's the thing.
Maybe with a V2 rocket, yeah, I would say yeah, and maybe von Werner enhanced the space program, but I think American scientists probably pretty much had it handled without their knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really funny because he actually goes to Plum Island had some problems back in the 50s, okay? I mean, Plum Island's been around for a long time. Unfortunately, the Lyme disease thing came out in the 70s. This guy was known for it, and he gets a call. He was at the Naval Laboratory at one point, and then he gets a call from Dr. Shahan to do germ laboratories and offered a position on Plum Island. With a significant position. And then all of a sudden, we're doing all the stuff with the USDA. They're playing with our food products. They're doing everything else, looking at all this stuff. And then he is basically, he's offered to lead the lab in Plum Island. And then becomes the guy who is actually kind of like starts it, has been seen dropping off these ticks that were infected outside of it. I mean, look, folks, how do you think that ticks got out of Texas and got into New Jersey? Somebody did it. Deer and birds just didn't take them all up there.
No, and for the longest time, if somebody went into the doctor with Lyme disease, they would deny it,
right? Because
it was a classified project. You don't have Lyme. Yeah. I've never heard of Lyme disease. Nope. And even some doctors to this day dispute the fact that Lyme disease exists because it was created by a human lab.
Correct. Exactly. It was created at a human lab here in the United States by, a Russian. By a Nazi.
By a Nazi scientist.
Yeah. And it's all crazy. But when we start talking about Project Paperclip and some of the, like the big proven government crime conspiracies, they all start off with Project Paperclip. Okay. And then everything else that was always declassified. So your number one is Project Paperclip. Then your number two is the escape of Hitler and the Nazis to Argentina, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the
other military and the other problems that we had that are all related to it is like Operations Northwood, doing things in strange and hostile Cuban forces and doing the stuff that happened there. But it was also a military intelligence complex that was doing that. All that operation was done, and then you have other things underneath, like Hoover and Martin Luther King, where the party was, declassed Contra Intraopel, which is all related to the same thing. It starts with Project Paperclip, and it's got to do with the Germans and everything else. Project Mockingbird, which is in the 50s, which they talk about the all the things. It's a Nazi program. It's all about the same thing. Operation.
All right.
Operation MK Ultra, same thing.
Yeah.
The ticks. Okay. Yeah. So again, another one of my weird things is I know a lot about random diseases. Okay. No, it just strikes me as weird because so in late 2019, early 2020, there is a new tick-borne virus, SFTS, that is going around small province in China. So far, I think it's killed like 7 people and infected like 42 or something like that. But so it's a brand new tick-borne virus that spreads. It can spread from tick bites and then person to person.
Why the hell it always got to start in China?
Yeah. No, so I just found that weird that, like, when you were talking about the different types of tick warfare that they were talking about.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is so many different ways that, virus and all that stuff, and it all comes from that. Even Operation Midnight, we were talking about MK Ultra. It comes from this program. And Operation Midnight Climax was one of the weirdest programs there is. It's one of the many MK Ultra sub-projects. And what they did is they used prostitutes to lure people into CIA safe houses in San
to drop
Francisco.
LSD in their drinks.
Yes, and to monitor them behind one-way glass. And
Well,
it also led to sexual blackmails, surveillance technology, and mind-altering drugs.
Yeah,
and not just that, but oftentimes CIA agents would drop LSD in their own peers.
Yes.
To test it on them. And I mean, seriously?
Well, they don't even need to do this anymore. Okay, so if you noticed, every once in a great while, something else comes out on the drug market. The actual drug market for, meth comes out. And then, I don't know, all of a sudden, fentanyl came out.
Right.
Okay? And then there's, this weird drug came out, bath salts, and then people started eating each other. All of this kind of stuff, okay? So the thing is that
Florida.
They don't actually need to do anything besides hand it to the right person at the right time and say, hey, distribute.
Yep.
Eh?
And here's some
so
money.
we do enough shit to ourselves now that all they got to do is hand a couple of baggies to some random person and watch.
Not true. They have to teach them how to make it.
Yeah, that too.
Well, they just put it on the internet. Now,
But that's what I'm saying. That's where that whole private industry and private sector and everything comes in, is that you don't actually need to be the one doing these experiments anymore. You just need to follow this guy and watch and see what happens.
You just put it on the internet. You just feed it to the media, and the media feeds it to the masses.
Either that, or you throw up a Wikipedia page, or you put out a random ass book,
and then the talking monkeys grab it and go.
Exactly, and then all you have to do is sit back and watch.
Yep.
And you will have your experiment without ever having to get your hands dirty in that experiment.
Yeah. One of the best things that came out of Canada, other than coal, was the program that was started. Survivors
Allies Against Government Abuse, the SAAGA. And it's funny because most of their paperwork, or most of their stuff, they are so tied into the Nazis and dealing with what all came out of Project Operation Paperclip, and even back into 2017, they were doing stuff about. They had a program that they were looking at. It was called "From Nazi Germany to the CIA to Disney: A Deeper Look at MK Ultra and the Mind Control," which turned Hollywood into a cannibalistic Hollywood.
Yep.
That's a mouthful.
It's the same thing, and how they use all this stuff to this day. And 2017 isn't that long ago. TV controlled to control minds of the American people, and it's just ridiculous. And it all goes back to that method of monarch programming from the Nazis and MK Ultra. Mind control development, which was used by the CIA and tested on military and civilians for years, and it still is. And it's such a traumatizing. It traumatizes the victims, and it's horrifying. And then you have the stuff that goes into the Nazi program was comprised of elements, and they used the satanic ritual abuse, and which caused multiple personality disorders. They even went back and originated from using the Book of the Dead and rituals and so forth like that.
Well, that's the thing. Hitler was heavily enthralled in the occult, and that could be a whole different show. Just on his occult fascination,
right?
He had a whole chamber in the basement of his castle that was dedicated just to rituals, and he was really into Celtic lore. He was really into Aleister Crowley.
Right.
The whole supernatural aspect fascinated him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He was into every aspect of everything that he thought could in any way, shape, or form either lengthen his life, cause him to be a part of something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
He was all about what can I do to make myself a god. And that's what he was trying to do the entire time, is make himself more than human.
He came close. Honestly, he did come close.
Yeah,
maybe not to make himself a god. Maybe not quite making himself a god, but he wasn't far from winning the war. If we hadn't intervened with the Allies when we did, and what fascinates me is the Foo Fighters, because while our pilots were seeing the Foo Fighters, these orbs of different color lights following and really dogfighting with their aircraft, the Germans were hearing about them too. They weren't. I honestly don't think they were German weapons. I do think they were
not.
I do think they're alien because neither side knew what they were.
They actually, what we always believed them to be is that they were just always seen outside of an aircraft. But the truth, when you get to studying them, there are many things that they were actually inside the aircraft also. Like a flying orb coming into the aircraft.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
The Nazis saw them, the Americans saw them, and they would actually ping around and then go right through and then continue out on this way while others were outside of their craft. It was like they were almost spying or grabbing data or something on what was going on. You know, it was very strange. But you know, my biggest point about MK Ultra and tying it into Operation Paperclip is the biggest part is that, you know, the first studies on trauma-based mind control, who do you think conducted them?
I think the Nazis conducted that first, didn't they?
Yeah, well, you'll know this name, Joseph Mengele.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know, the physicians worked in Nazi concentration camps.
Right.
And all these SS physicians supervised the selection of arriving prisoners to determine on who was going to be killed and who was going to be forced into labor. You know, and they did some very strange things to people, you know. And today, in mainstream media, when we talk about, we label mind control or brainwashing, everybody calls it a conspiracy theory, you know, despite all of the proof that such programs have taken place for the last umpteen years. And you also have Project Mockingbird in the media since the 50s.
Right.
And it's really weird. It's really weird. They even, you know, to use Disney movies and TV shows and amusement parks, all for all this stuff, you know, and it takes you into the deep dark state, the Illuminati, and everything else, and it's really terrible, you know. So that's my spiel on MK Ultra and the tie into Operation Paperclip, because you can see so many of the things coming forward from what happened in the 40s and early, or the mid 40s after the war, to the early 50s, and then taking it off. And then during that time, you also have that very bizarre thing that happened in 1947. And then another one that happened in 48 here in Kentucky with the Mantell case. And all these things going on, and then everything has been swept away. I mean, you can almost relate everything to it. And some of the problems that we have today are guaranteed to be related to all that Nazism and so forth, because they were spreading their Nazi and their belief systems throughout this country.
Right. Now let's take this outside the box for a second. So you're an alien race.
I just didn't do it.
Oh no, I want to take it outside the box even further. You're an alien race that distributes this technology and information to the Nazis. What do you think the overall goal was? To advance humanity? I don't. So, as an alien race that just gave Nazis all this technology, which the Americans took, where do you think the aliens are with all this?
Well, you know, I think that they're, you know, and again, we have to look at what we know about alien races. And it's just like anything else. There are good aliens and there are bad aliens. You know? And there are good people and there are bad people. Right? And so if you get, if you you have a crash, say you want to go collect your things or meet the people who have it, and you start talking to them and you're bad, and you want to continue supporting this takeover and enslavement of people, what do? You go and support that person because it also works with your agenda. You're allowed to walk around and do other weird things in the country, possibly like cattle mutilation, other types of things, and you give them a little technology to help them along the way to be able to set that up, you know.
Okay, I'm not. Sorry.
So, I mean, where do you go? And then you have the other ones. And we know for a fact here in the United States, if you go to the treaties that were signed and the stories of what Eisenhower met with and everything else, there were 3 different types of alien beings that came to this thing. One wanted to give the other ones did not want to give.
Talking about the Granada Treaty?
The Granada Treaty, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, I'm just going to throw a weird-ass theory out there, because that's what I do. Okay? So, if you are an alien race,
Yes, you
and you plan on coming to a planet, okay, and you plan on actually taking over said planet,
are. You've tried. It's
Right.
okay? What is the best way to do it? Well,
Well,
first
don't
of
ask us-
no. So, look, so you could either come here in a massive ship and do all this warfare and possibly kill off a ton of your people, all of this kind of stuff.
Right.
Or you could give them the technology to kill themselves off. Give them the technology to seed your Earth for you. Give them different types of chemical weaponry that will be released in the atmosphere and change the atmosphere for something that you can breathe. All of these different things. You could be using this technology as a terraforming process without ever losing a single one of your people.
So this is your plan.
No, I'm just saying from the aspect of an alien culture, we do enough horrible crap to ourselves that if we are given the push, we will do it.
Yeah, but honestly, if they really wanted to do it, how many nuclear weapons and how much sarin gas are we stockpiling?
I understand that, but that's what I'm saying is
that's
you
the
give them
other-
the carrot, you tell them, hey, make this. This is awesome. This will do this. This will make it so you'll never lose a war again until we decide to come in and boom, war over.
But that's the other thing, and that shows the different motivations of different races. Because you've got the race, that went to the Nazis. But then you got races over here that have actually shut down our nuclear facilities.
Correct.
So, don't you think, with the technology they've got, if they gave this technology information to the Nazis, for example, that they could predict that, the Nazis are going to lose anyway, that information is probably going to go to the Americans or Russians or whoever.
Did it
Don't you
matter
think they
who
probably
it
already
went to?
predicted?
That just
Did
sounds
it
like
matter
way
who
too
it went to,
complicated
though?
of a
Maybe
plan.
not.
It didn't matter to them who it went to, because if it is somebody from a different world, they don't care who's doing what to who. They
True.
care that it's getting done. It doesn't matter if it was Germany that won. It doesn't matter if it was the U.S. that won or Russia or anybody else. Because from their standpoint,
They seeded.
they still did what they were supposed to do.
They seeded the planet technology
They
that we
still
weren't
are
ready to
doing
use.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they already
Yeah,
got
they
their
still
stuff.
are.
They don't care what country did it, as long as it's done. It's about the Earth itself. It's not about countries or different rulers of different areas.
I can get on board with that.
Right. Well, and the thing about it is they didn't have to come in spaceships. They were most likely they were already here,
Yeah.
living underground for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're like saying, let the kids go up.
Let the kids play.
We're down here. Let the kids play up there, and we'll just benefit afterwards.
Yeah.
Because they have most of them have a longer life than we do. And
Don't the rakes live underground?
Even going into the other side of it, where you look at Project Serpico and you start looking at the EBs and them.
Right.
What are they? They're the good people that we captured, and most of them are saying you can't understand because maybe we are the people of your future. We know what you've done. So they are time travelers also. There are
So if you're
interdimensional beings that are working all this stuff. So you got good and you got bad, and they try to tell you, but the bad wants more money, more profit, more.
No, you know what though? If you're looking at it from that kind of a point of view, okay, the best workers are happy workers. Okay, and we figured this out. We figured this out ourselves. So the best type of labor is happy labor. So if you give everybody, hey, we're going to give you a carrot here, we're going to give you a carrot there, we're going to show you how to do this, we're going to show you how to do that.
I don't want a carrot.
Then
When did
we're
you figure
doing
this out?
everything for whoever the heck else without even realizing that that's what we're doing. Because we're good, we're happy in our own little sense, we're in our own little bubbles, and we're doing our thing, we're getting along, we're making this all happen. And we could easily be doing something for anybody without knowing that we are.
And that's a good point to bring up, Dennis. So Dennis is asking, wouldn't aliens have to be immune to any type of virus?
Not necessarily. They could have suits that are developed so that they don't have to worry.
Oh, man, we know most of these races that come down here they have a biosuit, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also heard, like the Pleiadians, for example, they can't handle our atmosphere, so they don't come here physically. The Pleiadians actually are the ones that oftentimes spiritually connect with humans.
Right.
The Greys, we know the Greys wear a suit. The Reptilians, I think, are the only ones that, from what I understand, don't wear one.
Yes, but if you are a reptile, okay, and I'm just saying, if you are a reptile, how long can you go without doing certain things?
True.
Yeah. So.
I mean, but they also have shape-shifting capability. That's the one race that has shape-shifting capability.
Right.
I'm just saying.
They can become us in a minute, so...
Yeah.
So when it comes to viruses, I would say the strongest race that can handle a virus would be the reptilians.
Exactly.
And honestly, they wouldn't have to be immune to any virus. Okay? They wouldn't have to be immune to any American's virus or worldly virus. Because
the only thing that I have ever seen that affects them is from Mars Attacks when they were playing that hillbilly music and that frequency just blew their heads apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. Have you seen signs? They're allergic to water, remember?
Yeah, that's true. They're allergic to water and signs.
Yeah, but what's the best way to take all of our water from us? Hey, blow it up with a nuke. Let's get 10 million nukes and blow them all up.
We blow up two of that one, though.
Yes, we would, but that would completely clear out any kind of virus that this Earth might have.
And us.
And it would take out our water. It would take out this. It would take out that. Come on. I mean, if you're going to take over a place, you want it to be a place that you can live in. So you're going to send...
Something that's really strange. I don't know if you ever saw this, and I didn't see it for very long, but it was out for a while. Do you know that, speaking of water, that China was in here with gigantic boats that were taking water from the Great Lakes?
Yeah.
Because they needed water. Isn't that weird? You talk about lake levels and everything else going down. And they did. I remember back in one period of time. And what's strange is people actually don't realize that, even though it was polluted as the Great Lakes were at one time, that's where we got our water from. Mm-hmm. We were getting water from there. And we still do to this day. And the lake levels in the 70s were extremely high. And they continue to grow up, and then all of a sudden now they've dropped so much. So is it possible that they have taken that much water out of the lakes?
Well, they were taking millions of gallons a day, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And that just disappears somewhere. That whole story just went away. But it's really funny how all this stuff plays together. It is really... sad. So you're dealing with stuff that you go, and I think that most of the people in the world, not only in America, would be so shocked if they were automatically so dropped into this, because the people who have formed their own realities and say, oh, that would never happen, would need psychiatric care. You know. Wouldn't you think? I mean, do you think that that could be one of the reasons why that they don't disclose UFOs? They don't disclose some of the things, and why we have all this stuff declassified, that is classified and will never be declassified.
Well, and I do think that's why they. So I agree. Some conspiracies are just that, conspiracies, and they're bullshit.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about Paperclip, when you're talking about some of the government atrocities they've done that are actually documented, they're not conspiracies anymore. But we still get labeled as conspiracy theorists, and we are put on watch lists because this is the kind of information they don't want the public to know about. They don't want the government. They don't want the public to know. We had atrocious German scientists coming here, experimenting with the government, our own government, on our own people.
Why the hell do you think they waited until a massive virus was everywhere to release things like, oh yeah, by the way, we have aliens. Okay, next week, let's talk about, it's all about smoke and mirrors. It's smoke and mirrors. And it's look in this hand so I can do this over in this one.
Yeah.
Well, to be true with you, I'm looking for Bigfoot to save the world. I mean,
and wouldn't that be interesting if he did?
So you know, he's related to what we call the Green Man, is he not?
You know, and that's some theories. I don't know where I stand on it yet. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll get there. Hopefully this year we'll actually go up in the mountains and find him. That would be cool.
Well,
yeah, it would be cool. Yeah.
I think if he's related to anything here, it would be a platypus.
I would be happy to find any evidence, because if he doesn't want to be found, that's cool.
Well, he's not going to be.
I'm going to respect his boundaries.
Absolutely, and that's what that's what some people
hide and seek champion of the world.
That's what some people think. Why are we going to go bug him? We're not trying to bug him. We just want to talk to him, give him a cup of coffee.
What's really weird is that they do talk to humans that are interested, because there has been so many cases of that happening.
Yep. They have to trust you, if I gleaned anything from Tyler, who was our FMP first Bigfoot guy, and he's actually interacted with families of them. He took his kid up there, and he told me you have to go up to the same spot every day for about 3 to 4 months before they'll actually come out, because they'll actually get to the point where they know the sound of your car. They know your smell. And it came to the point after about 6 months of going up to Baker, up here, they actually started tossing rocks back and forth with them. And their families came out. And another time he took his kid with him. And the Bigfoot child was actually enthralled that there was a human child. So I do think, once they actually know you, they will come out.
I think that also has to do with your intentions and your aura.
Oh, absolutely.
As well.
They know
because they know they wouldn't come out no matter.
I heard long ago too. If you have a gun, they won't show themselves. I proved that false because I had a gun the first time I heard a knock. So I was deer hunting. Yeah. I wasn't, I would never use a weapon on a Bigfoot unless, of course, my life was threatened. That'd be the only time. And I'd probably still die. But
what is a knock?
Huh?
What's that? Knock?
The knock?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Remember?
I think the knocks
in those movies where they started doing drums.
Well, and that's what's interesting, because prior to my first experience, I didn't really give a damn about Bigfoot. I'd heard the stories, but we were more into alien, UFO, and haunting. Bigfoot, okay, whatever. But I was on my mountain in my backyard, and my first experience, he was messing with me, literally. Yeah. It was, hey, I'm here. And we put our packs down. We walked back to where we heard it. We saw the stick that he used. And it was weird because we looked all over, couldn't see anything. And it was pine needles, so there weren't any tracks. And we went back to our pack about 30 feet away. And we just took a step to leave. And he did it again. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And, and we left. We left. If you don't want us to see it, then you're not going to show yourself. But from that point on, I was like, okay, I've had my first Bigfoot experience. He wants me to find him. He wants me to get into this side of the field. Mm-hmm. So I did from that point, and that was about 2014. So I've only been on the Bigfoot side for 7 years now, and it's been fun. It's been fun because it's a mystery I gotta solve. I've encountered aliens, I've seen UFOs, I've encountered fairies, fae, more spirits and entities than I can count. It's the Bigfoot I gotta find. And we will. I have no doubt we will. And on that note, what are you talking about on Into the Fire this week?
This week we've got a production event company called Fork in the Road, and we're having an event, and we're having all of the people that are at this event. We're going to have on JB Coates, JT, Candace. We've got all these people, and that's what we're going to be talking about.
Cool.
And talking about the event and some stuff like that. The week after, we got the Fearless Ones. Doogie, who used to be with Tennessee Rape Chasers on TV and everything else. Jason, Beth Page. So that, and then we're going into Chris Garcia. You've had him on your show before.
Yep.
We're having him back on again. He's going to do some readings, and we've got some really interesting stuff planned coming out in the next few months. So we're really looking forward to getting some good information out there.
Good deal. Where can our listeners find your show?
You can find Into the Fire right now on Parahouse TV on Facebook. It's broadcast live there every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific time. And we just have a lot of good fun, and it is just a wonderful time. You can also catch it on YouTube, unless they get mad at me, because I also do a show called The Conspiracy Theory on Friday mornings, and which all those shows have been taken off of YouTube.
It's okay, I download them, and I got them. Speaking of which, I had to re-download my entire conspiracy library just because, over the years I go through a laptop about every 2 years, so they don't last long for me because they're overworked.
Let's not lie to our listeners, Eric.
What?
Because you drop coffee in them.
No, I don't. No. I've done that years. So next
lately,
week,
my laptop has been suffering greatly from abuse. So anymore, I have learned to take it and shut it off every night so that somebody doesn't get an opportunity to get into it. I used to leave it on. I just completely shut it down, get off the internet, whole 9 yards, and let it go silent for a while. Anybody hear anything about the odd things that have happened lately after the Nashville incident with the iPhones? Anybody have an iPhone?
No.
Not iPhones, but there's been some weird tower happenings.
I don't want to sell my soul.
I will tell you one thing, that today we had to discontinue some things on it, the apps that show up that allows you to be traced. So
Go through your settings, folks, and look and see if you've got stuff that allows them to trace you through your iPhone and everything that happens on your iPhone.
No, that's not just iPhone. That's Android as well.
No, that's Android as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
you got to check the location
kind of
block.
happened. It just so happened. It's never been on the iPhones before. And
not to your knowledge.
How about we let me lay on some truth here?
Yeah.
Lay on the truth.
There is nothing you can do about the government tracing you through a cell phone. You chose that when you bought the cell phone. They control that network. There is no way
It's all
that you can turn it off. There is no way that you can deny it. If they really want to find you, they will.
Yeah.
The problem is, in order for them to take over a network like that, do you realize how much it actually costs every time they do that? This is why it's not done for regular criminals or anyone just any day. Mm-hmm. They don't actually, you gotta think, what do you do in your life that they actually care about? Mm-hmm. Like, come on. No, but like seriously.
Shots fired.
That's the thing. Like, half of our stuff that we are constantly saying that they're tracking us for, they don't actually care. There's easier ways to do it than actually trying to trace a cell phone like that.
Yeah, like cutting out all your Facebooks, huh? There, Eric.
Oh, they love terrorizing my Facebook. So thanks for listening, everyone.
What's going on in the tax world?
Oh,
Yeah.
Tax World.
What's Tax World doing?
All right. Tax World is doing all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, but you can come over to Red Rover Tax Services and get your income taxes filed. We do e-filing. We also have a portal set up. Visit us at www.redrovertaxservices.com.
And and like she said, you can be anywhere in the United States. They can do your taxes. It really doesn't matter where you're at, as long as you're in the United States. Clarify that.
Where do I get to the portal in Kentucky that I can just automatically bring my taxes directly to you?
Oh, come on over.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Airfare's cheap right now. You got this.
All right, so next week we do have we will have the full panel on next week talking Bigfoot and the alien connection. You know, we haven't talked Bigfoot in a while, so next week we're talking nothing but Bigfoot and aliens.
Hairy man.
So it's gonna be fun. So with that, y'all stay safe. If you're local, expect snow and rain all this week. Just stay safe. Watch the drivers out there. And we'll see you next week.
Good night, all.
Remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.